and the power represented by one iconic figure in particular. The man whose face still adorns the dollar bill, the first president of the United States, George Washington.
33 of his generals, 33 of them, were Freemasons. They knew how to keep secrets, and they were totally dedicated to the cause, ready to give their lives, and they did.
So with the development of the Great Seal itself shrouded in mystery, it is hardly surprising that its use on the dollar bill excites such interest. Does a closer look at the familiar greenback reveal the influence of an underground organization? And have they hidden secret messages on the dollar to help them on their quest for worldwide domination? Who put the symbols on the Great Seal of America and the back of the $1 bill, and why are they there? Conspiracy theorists are obsessed with the idea that these images have a special significance to Freemasons. Even Hollywood has cashed in. The film National Treasure, starring Nicolas Cage, tells the story of a hunt for long-lost treasure hidden by the Masons.
These films are enormously important because it's introducing Americans for the first time the fact that our founding fathers were involved in some things that historically have not been really discussed.
And that's one of the things that intrigued people about National Treasure, I think. It suddenly made them aware of things that they'd been looking at, you know, all their lives. The triangle, the all-seeing eye that's on the pyramid in the back of the dollar, all those things had Masonic beginnings.
Conspiracy theorists have found support for this idea in the writings of the philosopher Manly Hall.
Manly P. Hall, who is one of the great Masonic writers of all time, wrote a book called The Secret Destiny of America, and he said it was concealed inside the symbols of the dollar bill. So now we've got to go back to the back of our dollar bill and then find out what those symbols mean. And it's very rare that people have done that. I would say 99% of the American people have simply no idea what those two circles mean.
The circles represent the two sides of the original Great Seal designed by the Founding Fathers. At that time, so-called pendant seals were still widely used. This was a wax disc that was attached to a document by ribbons and cords, often with a different image on each side. But wafer seals were then introduced instead. This was an adhesive paper disc that had the seal imprinted on it, and only the front side with the eagle design was ever used.
To use two paper seals, obverse and reverse, would take over 6 inches of space on a treaty or document.
But some theorists question whether this is the real reason for the failure to use the reverse side of the seal.
When you look at the Great Seal of the United States, on the reverse of the seal, there's a very distinctive emblem, an uncompleted pyramid with the all-seeing eye of Providence at the top. The all-seeing eye is a symbol that is indeed used by the Freemasons.
It's suggested the pyramid was added by an artist named Francis Hopkinson, who had helped design the American flag. He was the advisor to the second committee charged with creating the Great Seal, and he was also believed to be a Freemason.
Francis Hopkinson served as the designer of the Connecticut $50 note, and in that design he placed an uncompleted pyramid within a circle on the note. Having used that design successfully in Connecticut, he suggested it again for the United States.
But why put a pyramid on an emblem for the United States? If Hopkinson was a Freemason, then perhaps it might make sense. Even today, central to Freemasonic rituals are mythical stories linking the fraternity right back to the secret societies of stonemasons who built the tombs and temples of the ancient world.
To Hopkinson, the pyramid would have represented a temple, a house of initiation, ancient wisdom.
The Masons referred to the pyramid as a house for their God to live in. It was sealed up, waiting for the New World Order when a god would enter that building and keep it as a house.
The Freemasons generally refer to their god as the great architect of the universe.
They saw this great architect, if you like, as being weights and measure and distance and geometry and everything that we see around us, and the perfection of nature and harmony and balance, rather than the traditional Judeo-Christian way of thinking. It's not so much anti-Christian as just different.
But conspiracy theorists believe the Freemasons are immersed in the rituals of an ancient religion, which is very definitely anti-Christian.
They don't believe in an act of creation. And a man who does believe in a creation believes in a, quote, monstrous absurdity, unquote. The pyramid is where they initiate people into this ancient mystery religion of a universe without a creator God.
And that the pyramid on the Great Seal is unfinished is also significant.
The meaning is that when the capstone of the Great Pyramid is finally lifted into place, that's when America will truly become the nation that it is supposed to be.
The emblem of the pyramid is just the beginning of the case mounted by conspiracy theorists to see hidden Masonic codes and messages in the iconography of the dollar. It's claimed that the eye at the top of the pyramid is also a Masonic image, taken from Egyptian hieroglyphs.
Something the ancient Egyptians called the Wadjet eye. And the Wadjet eye, the eye of Horus, as it's known as well, seems to represent eternal life. It seems to represent life itself and resurrection.
And it's the all-seeing eye of their God that they believe will indeed bring us ordo ab chaos. That is their slogan, order out of chaos. That eye above the pyramid is not on the pyramid, which means their work is unfinished, and that the universe will be given order once their God assumes his rightful place in that pyramid.
The eye is a recurrent Masonic image used in their artwork and temples, at least since the 1700s. The idea that the Founding Fathers arrived at the same imagery at the same time seems too much of a coincidence for some.
Some of these conspiracy theorists and what they believe is a system of secret societies all linked together. And there is some kind of malign, malicious intent here.
As further proof of this veneration of long-lost secret societies, America's first president and distinguished Freemason, George Washington, wore a Masonic apron with what seemed to be an embroidered pyramid emblazoned boldly on it. And the layout of the new capital city that the Founding Fathers went on to build was apparently based on the architectural philosophies of ancient Egypt.
Most of the buildings in Washington, D.C. were created and founded by Freemasons. That was because building was their strength. They knew how to align buildings to certain patterns in the heavens. You could channel spiritual energies if your physical buildings were lined up with certain stars.
But the hidden meaning of the dollar bill goes far beyond the curiosity of the pyramid and the all-seeing eye. Even the greatest symbols of America are open to a disturbing interpretation. The eagle is regarded as the prime symbol of the American Republic. It is said to represent freedom and strength, and is the most familiar image of the Great Seal on the dollar bill. Some believe the original intention was to depict the far more sinister phoenix, with its connections, once again, to ancient Egypt.
Out of the waters of chaos, the phoenix arises and the land of Egypt is born. I think the use of the phoenix in some of the early designs for this absolutely represent the idea of the rebirth. What we have here is a nation being born out of rebellion, an incredibly formative time.
But the phoenix was rejected in favor of the American bald eagle.
There was a great debate amongst our founding fathers as to which bird we were going to name as our national bird, but it was always in my mind going to be the American eagle. These are from Masonic writers. In mysticism, the eagle is a symbol of initiation. The eagle was sacred to the sun. The eagle was also represented the great Egyptian sun god Amun-Ra.